My name is Haley Minix, and I am the writing teacher at Sayersville Grade School. I teach across the grade levels, kindergarten through 6th grade. So I teach writing all day. This is McKenzi May, and she teaches 5th grade writing, so we collaborate together. So I'm assuming that most of us here are all educators, right? And so how many of us have ever given students a writing task and you hear, oh, why do I have to do this?
Standard responses, short answers.
Yeah, this is so boring. Yes. A lack of engagement. Yes. So writing, of course, we want to base it more in technology and try to find engagement. So we said that our grant project is based on 2 factors. Student engagement, how to make their writing purposeful and meaningful and rewarding. And 2, our past test scores show that we need a focus on writing. So then that led us to our guiding question that, of course, that we took to our principal as well. We said, how on earth are we going to promote student engagement with writing? What are we going to do? So we collaborated with our principal, and he agreed that we could create a journalism class for this year. And our focus is on 6th grade. So when 6th grade goes to their Concourse classes, the journalism team will come to me. And the journalism class was a choice, so they had to do an application process. They had to do an interview process with us. And so I have 17 students in my class, and it is mostly student-led, of course. I'm going to be there for support. Yeah. So with our grant, we purchased Chromebooks for the documentation, creating the articles, research. We also bought an iPad so they can document the pictures. And then so I help them create articles. So I have groups. So I may have a group of 3. I have 4 groups right now it's all uneven, but anyways, they're all in different groups, and they write articles every week. And on Monday, we actually collaborate with the Sayersville Independent newspaper. And one article every Monday that I select and Miss McKenzi selects, we send to the newspaper. And the newspaper, thank goodness, gave us an actual space in the newspaper called the Eagle Times. And so every week, those students strive to want their article in the big newspaper. But we said, what are we going to do with those students who wrote articles and worked really hard? What are we going to do with those students? So we helped them create a school newsletter as well. So you'll see that the very first article about the SGS hosting the MCEAA tournament this past week, that was the article that made it into the Sayersville Independent, and then the rest of the students created the other articles for the newsletter, and they loved seeing their writing in these newsletters. You could hear them talking about it. They have a joke column. They find out the lunch menu. They love it. It's really engaging too because they get to go and interview people. They love interviewing their principal, and he's really good with working with them. They interview students for joke columns. I told them, I said, the number 1 rule about being a journalist is you are to be nosy. You have to be thinking about, what can I write about? What can I write about? So, like I said, we bought Chromebooks and we bought an iPad. So, and with those Chromebooks, they've been learning how to use Publisher to create their newsletter. We do Google Classroom, so they turn their articles into me. They come with me, and we edit those. We do one-on-one. Of course, we edit them before we put them in the newsletter. But we also. I wanted to mention that we collaborate with Heather Oney, the Sayersville Independent news editor, which they think is super cool. Like, they think she's a celebrity. So I want to turn it over to Miss May.
Okay, and again, I'm McKenzi May, and I am the 5th grade language arts teacher at Sayersville Grade School. And before I talk about my role in this project, I want to share a quick story because this already is happening now. But I also service gifted students from 7:30 to 8 in the morning if they choose, just so they get extra services and that they all are getting their services. And one of the things we're doing in there is they're working on an independent project for a showcase in the spring. And while we were working on that, two of Miss Haley's journalism students, they come in with their iPad and their Chrome, and they're like, can we interview a second? We want to know what's going on in here. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I'm like, these gifted students are doing independent projects, and they're writing down everything I'm saying. They're like, do you care if we take a few pictures? And they're like taking pictures. And one of the students I had last year in my 5th grade class, and he had some behavior issues, typically not motivated, but it was so awesome to see him at school early doing something that he thought was meaningful. So that was pretty cool. But my role is more kind of behind the scenes. I'm kind of looking at the data part of the action research and then the reflection part. So in terms of quantitative data, we gave students, our focus area right now is informational writing, according to our writing policy. So all the intermediate students did an informational writing task, kind of K-Prep on demand style. We looked at 6th grade scores on that, and then pulled out kids who are doing journalism class, looked at their scores. And what we're going to do is when we give that test again, in the post-assessment, we'll look at the growth factor. How much more did the kids in journalism class grow compared to the kids in their regular language arts class? And the key thing is that we kind of talked about is that, okay, well, what will we do next? If they make significant growth, then how can we transfer that to all of our language arts students? So then we'll kind of look at qualitative data, like maybe a course survey. What did you like about journalism class? Is it the research part of the writing? Is it collaboration with someone in the community? And then we'll talk together with administration, well, what can we do for our students who aren't in journalism class? What can we provide in the classroom to help them as well? And I think that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions, we'll